Please call the roll.
Winters,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Hamilton, Stelling,
Here.
Benson, Sherman,
Here.
Hannaford,
Here.
Wallace.
Here.
Item 4 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at city council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 18, 2017. And item B, approval of claims in the amount of $144,633.85 and payroll expenses of $245,535.60. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda. Second.
Thanks, Chris or Dan. Have a motion by Sherman, second by Winters, to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Hannaford.
Yes.
Item 6, reports from boards and officers. A is the Alva Public Library Board meeting on December 20th, 2017. Mr. Eckhart, I extend my apologies. I should have been there, but I was not well that day. You didn't want me there.
I heard that. So we had a special board meeting at the homestead where they served us a meal, which was really nice. Other than that, it was an incredibly short routine meeting. We basically went over financials as per usual, talked about the status of a couple of maintenance projects, and then we basically moved into the progress of eating lunch. So it was probably maybe a 15-minute long board meeting. We just covered the basics. And then I had my other one today, but I'll report on that next time. So.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Eckhart? Thank you. Item B is the Alva Hospital Authority meeting. There was no.
No, we have no scheduled meeting for December.
Item C is the Alva Tourism Tax Regular Committee meeting on December 20th and the special committee meeting on January 5th. Mr. Benson isn't here, but Joe Don, would you be able to provide an update?
On the 20th, the only action item besides minutes and financials was the discussion on the big cruise and car show, and that was approved. And on the January 5th, there was discussion. It was a special meeting. The only action item was the Alva Regional Jackpot, and that was approved.
Does council have any questions for Mr. Dunham? Thank you, Joe Don. Item D is the Alva Airport Commission meeting on January 8, 2018. In addition to our routine business, we heard a presentation from April Mills, who's with Plain Plastics, regarding the 42nd Annual Air Race Classic and Flying Air Show event. That event will be in June. I don't have the date handy, but it will be the week following the Pack the Park event that the police department is doing. The Air Race Classic is there'll be 100 female pilots in 50 aircrafts, and it's a race across the United States. It'll start in Abilene, I believe, Abilene or Sweetwater. It'll start in Texas, and it'll end up somewhere, I think, around Maine. But Alva is the first stop in their race. So they are planning, they're well into planning an air show in the days following the actual race as it comes through Alva. And so we're looking forward to that big event for the community. They have all kinds of things planned for people to come out and participate. I think they're going to be doing some free flights for children and some stunt flying, and of course we'll have vendors on site and things like that for concessions and whatnot. So it should be a great deal. We tabled discussion on the airport board manual. We need to, and we'll be having Mr. Dunham add some things to that, and then we'll present the full airport board manual to the board. We had discussion, but no action regarding jump start unit for aircraft, ice maker for the terminal, and repairs and painting for the terminal. We did appoint a committee to work with the business manager to develop the ODO project list for future FAA-funded projects, and that will be Paul Kinsey and Dale Logsdon. In addition to that, we did welcome a new board member, Caleb Mossberg, to the airport board. Other than that, it was all pretty routine. Is there any questions from the council? The Alva Arena Authority meeting on January 9th, 2018. You may have read in the paper that they did acquire land and approved that acquisition south of Bill Johnson Correctional Center, east of Alva. So they are also in the process of moving forward with facility design plans, and they are awaiting, I guess, information what comes to be from the TIF District Review Committee. What I can tell you so far is what I know. Commissioner Hamill and I co-chair the review committee. The Planning Commission has appointed Bryant Gingrich to represent them. Alva Public Schools have appointed Steve Parkhurst, and those are the appointees that I'm aware of at this time. The appointee from Northwest Technology Center and the appointee from the Health Department, along with these other appointees, will get together on either the 28th or 29th of this month and select 3 more members of that review committee, and then we'll get to work reviewing the particulars of establishing or not establishing a TIF district for the Arena Authority. I'm happy to try to answer any questions if council has
So
them.
land location, is that north or south of 64?
North of 64.
North of 64, so kind of,
If you go to Bill Johnson's, it's right across the street to the
Okay.
south,
okay, seems like,
I believe.
That's the location out there.
Any other questions? Thank you. Dr. Hannaford, can you give us Finance Committee report from this evening?
Yep, had a productive meeting. We reviewed and signed our claims, and you can see in your reports from some of the large claim reports, we had debt service from all 3 funds that were paid. 2 large purchases for airport fund for fuel at $20,246, as well as fuel out of our general fund for a little over $12,000. Talked about our December financials. Our cash in hand went up slightly, about $16,000, which was close to $500,000. Our investments was up about $3,000 at $2.5 million. I'll let Joe Don talk a little bit about the financial report with our sales tax use. We had a presentation by Dr. Pankey on the invoice from Northwestern, which we'll be hearing about later tonight. We did have a good long discussion about some long-term construction projects and financing with some of our, the sewer line east of Alva, the Skyline lift station, Mill Street water line project. Just had some different discussions of how we might be able to finance those projects in the future. And also some good reports of 3 different grants that I think Joe Don is going to talk about some, but an ODOT grant, another ODOT REAP grant, and a Safe Routes to Schools grant that we're going to be looking and doing some research on. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does the council have any questions for Dr. Hannaford? Thank you. As far as my report's concerned, the Oklahoma Municipal League Congress of Mayors will be next week in Oklahoma City. So I will be attending that, and we will be, I'm not sure everybody has been here, Brian went here, but what that is the mayors in the state get together annually to go over legislative issues and any recommendations that we have to help municipalities out in the future session of Congress, the state Congress. And so we'll meet next week in like I said, Oklahoma City. There will be, I'll share information afterwards on what has come out of that, and particularly if it has an impact on our community. Next week, I'll draw your attention to, if you haven't already purchased tickets for the Chamber of Commerce Annual Citizens of Distinction Gala, I believe is what they call it, but that is next Monday evening. And they're going to be recognizing some City of Alva employees, a firefighter, a police officer, and a member of the ambulance department for their service, and also other members of our community. So I would encourage you to consider attending that. I don't know if that would, it's a public event. I'm not sure if that means we have to post an agenda to all attend that if we were going to, but somebody can tell me after the fact if I should be concerned about that. I'll tell you ahead of time. Okay. Whether you go or not, I'm sure there'll be a wonderful write-up about it in the Alva Review-Courier. So you'll be able to hear all about that. Well, I'm forgetting something. Maybe I'll bring it up at the end. I should have took better notes. But I'm happy to answer any questions from the council. Item H is the City Business Manager's Report. Mr. Dunham.
I'll start off by kind of giving a recap of our financial statements, financial report. Through the month of December, we have collected across all of our major revenue producing funds $5.6 million. And across those same funds, we've spent $6.9 million. If we look at our percentage to budget on our expenditures, we are right at the 50% mark for where we'd like to be. Of course, we still have spent more than we have brought in. If we look at some of the major areas, our sales tax through the month of January, because we collect that, I've got notification on January 9th on what that's going to be. So through January, we've collected $2.4 million. And compared to last year, at $2.3 million, we're about 5.4% above where we were last year. The areas that we're seeing the largest increase right now is in our use tax. Our use tax was about $9,000 more for the month of January than it was in the month of December. About $2,000 more in December than it was in November. Our utility billing is running about 9% above where it was in December of last year. That of course is due to our rate increases that we had. We have billed out for $1.5 million compared to last year at $1.4 million. And then our monthly motor vehicle excise report, we're right at the 50% mark, right where we have been for the last 40 years, at $23,000. As far as our capital expenditures are concerned, we have let with the water tower, we have let the majority of our projects. We had budgeted for $3.6 million in projects, and we have either purchased or awarded contracts on $3.1 million. Right now, some of the items that we are looking at purchasing would be a new ambulance, some belly dump trailers for the street department, a new pickup for a new one-ton dump truck for the water department. We've still got some poly carts that we need to purchase this year from last year's REAP grant, and some tarps for our roll-off trucks. And those items would, once we get all those bought, that'll be the majority of our capital improvement items for this budget year. Where we're at on some of our individual projects that we've worked here recently on is we've talked a little bit about the Young Street water tank farm. We have released that. They have started work. To date, if you'll go up there and look, you'll see a little different topography than you saw 2 weeks ago. The two 500,000 gallon storage tanks are gone. They've been torn completely down. They're going to be hauling off the concrete in the next day or so. Moorhead Construction is currently working to complete the shade structures at the baseball and softball fields at the rec center. When I was out visiting with them today, and they are having some difficulties with their machinery right now due to the cold weather. Also, we have finished all the dirt work for the airport's east-west turf runway. Right now, that's covered with wheat until the spring when we can put a more suitable topping on it. The storm siren upgrades have been completed, and we are fixing to discontinue phone lines that will net us a monthly savings of about $2,900. We've also finished our the Lincoln Elementary School traffic bypass. We constructed a bypass at Lincoln Elementary to help pull some of that traffic away from the construction area, and it appears to be working pretty well. There were a few hiccups this morning that were reported to me, but for the most part, it went well. Today was the first day for them to use it. A couple of grants that we're going to be going after as far as projects in the future. The Oklahoma Department of Transportation has a Safe Routes to School grant. We will be pursuing this grant as sidewalks from basically Harper Road, down behind Buena Vista, down over Murray Drive to Sunset Drive, down Young Street over to Lincoln School, and then down and tie back into our walking trail at Monroe. As far as if you want a better picture, if you'll look at the map over here to my right, it's the red line. It's what we'll be looking at completing. We'll need to get with the college and get with Dr. Pecky and Dr. Cunningham about some of that, because it will be going right by the dormitories. Do not expect that it's going to interrupt or do anything to the sidewalks that you currently have put in there on the next to one of the dormitories. I don't know which dormitory that is. Right there on Davis.
Right south.
Yeah. And we'll turn there on Monroe coming up, probably on the dormitory side of the road, and maybe we can enhance those sidewalks that are currently there. It's kind of what we're looking at. I have not had a chance to talk to you. Unfortunately, I'm glad you're here. But this was a project that was brought about by some of the schools and some of the Northwest Family Services Group. This grant is scheduled to be opened up for applications mid 2018, so around in about June. This is the third phase of a multi-phase project, as you can see from the map, is what we've got planned. The other grant that we're looking at is Oklahoma Department of Transportation highway grant that will help us do some repairs on streets that are feeders to the highway. They're called functional urban. It's a functional urban classification street. Basically, it's Harper Road, Skyline, 7th Street, 4th Street, Noble, Flynn. Some of those streets, there's some grant money out there to completely rehab everything on those streets from the base down to the drainage. So we're going to be looking real close and developing some plans on that. Hopefully working hand in hand with the Department of Transportation on those. If that is something we do pursue, it will not be a City of Alva project. It will be an Oklahoma Department of Transportation project. It will go into their bidding process. We'll get our estimates out. We'll give the Oklahoma Department of Transportation our match money, and they'll go in after the grants. And Mayor and Council, that would be my report for this evening, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does the council have any questions for Mr. Dunham? Thank you, Joe. Item 7, presentation of check from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, Representative Tanya White.
Yes,
Ms. White.
thank you. Well, as everyone is aware, because you all have voted on that, we've got a loan that was taken care of through Oklahoma Water Resources Board for the demolition of some of the water treatment areas that you have, and also reconstruction of a couple of different towers. So wanted to bring you all a check today because it's awfully nice when we present these to the council members and it's put in the paper. That way citizens within the community can see exactly what's happening, and when their roads are under construction and they're wondering what in the world's going on, they can be reassured that it's actually for their benefit. So thank you all for inviting me today as a representative for Oklahoma Water Resources Board, and I just want to present you all with the check. I want to see you put this through the drive-through, the canisters.
Come on, guys.
Okay.
Where would you like us, Marion?
Right here is very
Oh, very good.
good. I'll do it twice. Okay. And let's do this way just to be sure.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all for what you're doing. It's thankless at times and much appreciated, so
We'll
please
proudly
know that.
display that in our offices. That we
Would
can
you
cash it,
like
right?
to keep this in your office?
If I can, yes.
I'm going to give this to you,
Okay,
Joe.
I will
Absolutely.
display it proudly. As long as I can I take it to the bank?
Well, that's what I was saying. I wouldn't recommend it. It does
Okay.
not have the denoted information at the bottom.
Well, I thought I'd just
that's
check.
done by strategic design. Somebody probably did try and take it to a bank. But other than that, I will leave this for you so that you'll have it.
All right.
Any questions that you might have for me? Okay. Well, there is a position that was just created at Oklahoma Water Resources Board that's called the Marketing and Outreach Manager position, and I was selected for that position. So I welcome that if anyone has questions concerning OWRB, any of the council members, do not hesitate to give me a call. I'm happy to answer any questions that may assist with decision making or just in general. So by all means, we're available to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll be hearing from me, Tony.
I have no doubt.
I shared with the Finance Committee that the project that, being underway and so close to my driveway. They haven't stopped since they have worked every day since they started last week, and Saturday, Sunday both, and they're getting quite a bit of work done. So. I'll move on to item 8, is a presentation from NWOSU over the 2017 Fall Semester Alva Incentive Scholarship Program. Mr. Byrd.
Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing us to present today. I'm joined by our usual cast of one tonight, Dr. Janet Cunningham, our university president, who you know very well. I'm going to be very brief, and she's going to cover most of what's going to be presented today. Before you, you should have a bill for $266,518 with details behind that. I'll be happy to address any questions you might have with that. That's about as brief as I can be. I'll be followed by your president, Dr. Janet Cunningham.
Well, I do have a few notes to talk about just a little bit. I also want to thank all of you and the community of Alva. Scholarship funds are even more critical in this current climate. And I hate to be kind of Debbie Downer, but I'm going to be that just a little bit to talk about the state of Oklahoma and the current situation with higher education. Higher education funding is down over 23% in the last 3 years. So, you all deal with budgets, you lose almost a quarter, and that's a hit. We are at the appropriation levels that we were at in 1999. So if you look at, 17, 18 years of business, we feel like we've kind of gone backwards there. Enrollment was down this fall, and we're numbers are not in yet for this spring, but it would make sense that it will probably be down some this spring. Obviously, that doesn't make me very happy, Dr. Hannaford very happy, especially Dr. Paikey. All of our staff is concerned about that. However, I think it's bears bringing out that over the last 3 years, we have lost 22 employee positions because of the budget cuts that we have been experiencing during that time, and that means less people to recruit, less people to follow up on students for retention purposes, less sections being offered, and the state has done a few other things that maybe are not quite as noticeable. The state has cut regional baccalaureate scholarships, and I think maybe Daniel Winters was one who received that scholarship. That's for the really high ACT, the top-notch students, and kind of a full ride type scholarship. Each regional institution used to receive 15 of those. We now receive 3, and that's Southwestern, UCO, so on, all of us. Concurrent enrollment, which a lot of you, maybe your children have participated in. I know my children did. It's a great program. They can start as, usually as juniors, but certainly as seniors. And it's a great program. It's been very well received, but the funding for that is 27% of the cost. We're mandated to do it, but we receive back 27%. And I tell you all of that's not really to be negative, but a little soapbox here. I think it's time for the state of Oklahoma to decide really what kind of state we want to be. Do we want to be first or second in all the things that are bad, like health outcomes and incarceration rates? Do we want to be last in things that are good, like educational attainment? And I told Rick this earlier this evening, I think the state could take a lesson from the city of Alva if they would just look, because you have invested in the city's largest employer. You have invested in Northwestern, and I think that was so forward-thinking, forward-looking back in the late 90s when that occurred, and it's continued to be such a difference maker for us through those years. I will tell you, we will continue to work hard to make Northwestern the best it can be. We are encouraged by our Ranger Preview event that we had in November. We'll be working hard to get those prospective students to attend next fall. And if you remember, Ranger Preview is just, that's a scholarship for students who come just to the Alva campus, specifically coming from the Alva incentive dollars. We also continue to look at a lot of opportunities to bring people to Alva. We're getting ready for an assurance argument that we have to do for accreditation, and we looked at about 20 of what I would call some of our major events. The only one that's an athletic event is homecoming, but things like homecoming, things like Red Carpet Honor Band that we just had hosted this weekend, and we tallied those 20 events and some pretty good estimates on attendees, individuals that are coming to those events, prospective students and so on. And almost 20,000 people have come through and have attended, and that's counting some parents and just lots of different things that we have. And that doesn't include any of our, other than homecoming, any of our athletic team events. We'll host 2 ball games this week, Southeastern and East Central, and they'll be coming in. And our friend schools from Arkansas who come now, who used to have to spend the night in Enid, or our travel partner is Weatherford, they'd spend an extra night in Weatherford and just come here and then leave. Now that we have hotels, all those teams, you'll see those team buses at the new hotels spending dollars here in Alva. According to a report commissioned by the state regents a couple of years ago, they did one for each school in the state. Northwestern has a total regional economic impact of $68 million. So you can see how critical Northwestern is to this region of the state. I guess my plea to you is continue to do what you do, which is support Northwestern and support the community of Alva, but also to contact your legislators and tell them that higher education is important, and it really is the key to a better future for the state of Oklahoma. They hear from me all the time. They hear from Dr. Hannaford and people who work at our higher education institutions. They really need to hear from some people in these communities that will tell them it really is important that students have the chance, they have access to higher education, they have the opportunity for higher education, and the opportunity to be successful citizens. So thank you again for all you do, and I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Well, Dr. Cunningham, thank you for the compliment regarding the way our city is operating, but I'll extend the same compliment to you and refer back to an accreditation review that happened 2 or 3 years ago. And I was sitting in the room when the committee comes out and their leader addresses the people in the crowd and says that this university does more with less than any other university they've ever accredited. And
that's my aspiration, I guess.
And it's a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
And I think it's vital that we continue to support you with this economic development incentive funding, and because we do feel that the college is absolutely vital to the success of this community, and we appreciate all the work that you and your faculty and staff, as well as the student body, do to make Alva great. So
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right, and we will have that item, that invoice for approval in the economic development. Next item on the agenda is discussion and action on ordinance 2018-001, amending sections 6-5B2, 6-12A, and B, 6-43, and 6-67A of the City of Alva Code of Ordinances by amending the definition of household pets to include rabbits, to provide further restriction of cats and dogs running at large, repealer, and emergency clause. If you'll recall, During a previous council meeting, Councilman Winters brought this to the council's attention. It has been directed to the Ordinance Review Committee, and this is now back before us for consideration to change the ordinance, which was taken under review initially because of the request to have rabbits considered as a household pet. So what you have in front of you, or in your packet, is the ordinance with the changes noted, and Jodon or anyone from the Ordinance Review Committee, if you have anything to add, please do so.
The only thing I'd add is that within the documentation that you've been given there, it is the complete ordinance for animals. The language that is being taken out, has been struck. The language that's being added is in bold, red, and underlined. There's really just some minor changes that have been made.
We discussed it, most of it was just real.
Basically, we tweaked it in a couple areas, just added rabbits in household pets, because if you looked up pets, it would actually list that, and then we made a notation on, like, basically, it was, someone had called me one time about dogs being on leash, basically restriction on, that can only come within 6 feet of sidewalks or the streets or something like that, because people go walking and someone's got them in the front yard, and then they can run up where it keeps them back a little ways. So really, that's basically the main parts that we tweaked it.
Yeah. Most of it was language clarification. A lot of it was.
Does council have any questions regarding this item?
And I'm trying to find it. I remember seeing where it talks about the 6 feet from the sidewalk. That wouldn't prevent someone from, say, walking their dog down a sidewalk, would it?
No, it's just like six or big leash or a big confined.
Okay.
Basically, if somebody's got their dog staked in the front yard, they have to keep them staked 6 feet from the public walkway or roadway.
They can't, like the chain can't cross, if they're on leash, that it can't cross this public sidewalk or be within 6 feet of the street, because I mean, if the leash or chain goes across the sidewalk, it's a hazard and stuff, so it has to stay back.
If there are no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2018-001, amending said sections within our agenda of the City of Alva Code of Ordinances by amending the definition of household pets to include rabbits, provide further restrictions of cats and dogs running at large, repealed.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, and a second by Mr. Eckhart to approve ordinance number 2018-001 as stated. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Winters.
Yes.
Now would there be a motion to declare an emergency clause?
Or motion to declare an emergency.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Mr. Sherman to declare an emergency. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Item 10. There we go. Discussion and action on ordinance number 2018-002, amending sections 2-240 and 2-241 by authorizing the city business manager to appoint personnel to perform duties relative to functions imposed on the city, establishing a disciplinary policy and procedure for implementing employee disciplinary actions, establishing an appeals procedure, establishing a final appeal review by the city business manager, repealer, and emergency clause. Joe, I'll let you.
Well, over the past years, we've been working on our employee policy manual and upgrading that. We realized that we didn't have a ordinance that would provide for disciplinary action and provide for appeals from employees. The main part of this ordinance does this ordinance does make that available to the employee. If an employee is terminated, the employee has rights to have an appeal, and on that appeal, it goes before an employee review board. The board is made up of one employee of any rank, which is elected by the employee that was terminated, one employee of any rank that was elected by the employee who's terminated supervisor, and one supervisor appointed by the city business manager. They hear the case. They have certain rights that they can either uphold. They can uphold the decision to terminate. They can modify the decision, or they can put aside the decision to terminate. Some of the things that would be a violation, that would be cause for termination would be violation of any policy, violation of any safety rules, unexcused absences, careless actions, being intoxicated while at work, possession of firearms while at the city, engaging in criminal conduct, insubordination, destruction of city property, theft, dishonesty, immoral or indecent conduct while on duty, unsatisfactory work performance, any action of harassment, violation of the city's email, computer, or internet policy, or any breach of confidentiality. It outlines the disciplinary procedure that we normally follow. That would be a verbal reminder, a written warning, suspension, and termination. It does also note that although this progression is there, it does not guarantee that it's used. The city reserves the right to terminate employment at any time with or without reason. Then the appeals process that is outlined. And that's the bulk of the changes that we're making to these sections. The only other change is a minor change that states that the city business manager shall appoint personnel as necessary to exercise the powers and perform the duties relative to the functions which are lawfully imposed upon or assumed by the city. In other words, giving me the authority that if we elect to operate a landfill, for example, gives me the authority to hire the employees necessary to operate that landfill.
Essentially, part of this, the bulk of what Joe spoke of is things that were missing that needed to be there with regard to disciplinary action, reprimand, appeals, etc.
State law does require that governments, under the automatic form of government, have an appeal process. That was the reason for developing it.
Is this the normal makeup of the appeal board?
This is the policy that was recommended by our liability coverage. OMAG. When I consulted their attorneys, this is the policy that was recommended by them, the outline that was recommended by them. But I did consult the OMAG employment attorneys to help get that written and developed.
Are there any other questions regarding this item? If there are none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2018-002, amending sections 2-240 and 2-241.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Sherman, and a second by Mr. Winters to approve ordinance number 2018-002, amending sections 2-240 and 2-241 by authorizing the city business manager to appoint personnel to perform duties relative to functions imposed on the city, establishing a disciplinary policy and procedure for implementing employee disciplinary actions, establishing an appeals procedure, establishing a final appeal review by the city business manager, and repealer. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Item 11 is discussion and action on the appointment. Oh, I need an emergency clause. Is there a motion to have an emergency?
I'll motion for an emergency.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Winters, a second by Dr. Hannaford to declare an emergency on this item. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Now, item number 11 is discussion and action on the appointment of city representatives to negotiate on the city's behalf for the fiscal year 2018-2019 IAFF Local 3782 union contract, or the firefighters union contract. This comes up annually. We spend about half a year doing this, and then about a half a year not, and then we have an approved contract between the city and the firefighters union. Last year, or for the past several years, the city has had council members conduct these negotiations, and in my experience, as well as what I've heard from previous council members, that has been a good practice. Last year, the council members representing the city were Mr. Benson and Mr. Stelling, and at that, I will open it for council discussion unless there's anything to add to that. Or nominations and whatnot.
I'll say I want to commend both Councilman Benson and Councilman Stelling. I think it was a great process last year, and asking that I believe both are willing to serve again, I would make a motion to appoint Councilman Benson and Councilman Stelling to represent or to negotiate on the city's behalf for the fiscal year 19 IAFF Local 3782 union contract.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Hannaford, a second by Mr. Sherman to appoint Bryce Benson and Randy Stelling as city representatives to negotiate on the city's behalf for the fiscal year 18-19 firefighters union contract. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
I will notify the union of our team and have them contact you, either you, Councilman Stelling or Councilman Benson, directly to set up your first meeting. And then if y'all will let me know that meeting day, we will reserve the council chambers for you.
And thank you for your service on that. It's important, and we're glad that you're willing and able to serve in that capacity as well as you are. Item 12 is discussion and action on adopting the revised City of Alva Employee Policy and Procedure Manual. Mr. Dunham.
Well, our current policy and procedure manual was passed by the City Council on September 2007. The last revision that I'm aware of was March 2014. So we felt that it was, the Personnel Committee and I felt that it was a dated document, and we needed to, in some places it was contradictory. So we went about to research a new policy and procedures manual. I consulted with our liability carrier. They have a sample policy. We took that sample policy, we modified it to fit our needs. It has been reviewed by both the OMAG attorneys and our attorneys, and the Personnel Committee is ready to present it to City Council for approval. If approved, we will have OMAG come down, the OMAG trainers come down or come up to the city of Alva and do formal training over the manual with all city employees. And I'd let Dr. Hannaford make any comments that he chooses to make, or Councilman Winters.
Basically to review some of the changes that were made and some of the things, I guess, on the side if you have any questions. But like Joe Don said, kind of been adapted to our last policy and feel it fits our needs
The only,
better.
I do have one, and Joe Don answered several of my questions yesterday, but regarding recorded on page 16, at the bottom of page 16 is the section that deals with recording your time. And having been a department head that has gone through the transition of going from an electronic timekeeping system from a paper timekeeping system, I would recommend or suggest for consideration if when you make a motion to either include or not include, I'll read the language that I have here, but just as a means of stating that electronic timekeeping is our preferred method in circumstances which it's appropriate. So routine daily activities, they'll use the time clock that's on the computer. And so I have, to replace the language that's there, the city is required by law to keep a record of employee hours worked. Next paragraph, non-exempt employees should use the automated city time clock system. The manual timesheet method may be utilized in situations which the automated city time clock system is either not practical or not possible given non-routine circumstances or situations. Next paragraph, whether automated or manual, all time records for non-exempt employees must be submitted for supervisor approval at the end of each work week. All time records must be reviewed for completeness and accuracy. As a department manager going through that process, that is a process of change. It could be met with resistance from staff, and at times you need to reference the employee handbook to show them that it is appropriate for them to do things a certain way. I thought it was important to leave this in here, because I know we're investing quite a bit in that system. Is there any other discussion regarding the handbook? Otherwise, thank you, Joe Don, and your staff for the work that went into this, Personnel Committee as well.
So Mr. Mayor, you just want to make sure we have verbiage of time clock or?
I want to make sure that it's stated that the automated system is the preferred system for routine record keeping of time.
Okay.
There is also, the next sentence says, the manual timesheet method may be utilized in situations which the automated city time clock system is either not practical or not possible given non-routine circumstances or situations.
And that would be approved by their supervisors? Okay.
So we need a motion to table and have it corrected, or?
Well, let me read you. I took Kelly's.
I was going to ask, do we have notes to have?
I took Kelly's recommendation, and I made some modifications. We will see if I was able to save that where I can read it.
I thought they were gonna be printed, I'm sorry.
I don't, it's my system, my iPad didn't update it, or I didn't save it yet, because yeah, so let's see if this mimics what you wrote. The city is required by law to keep an accurate record of hours you work. Non-exempt employees should use the automated city time clock system. The manual timesheet method may be utilized in situations where the automated city time clock system is either not practical or not possible given non-routine circumstances. All timesheets, whether automatic or manual, need to be completed thoroughly and accurately. All time records for non-exempt employees must be submitted for supervisor approval at the end of each week. All time records must be reviewed for completeness and accuracy by the supervisor.
Should that be in the manual before we approve it?
We can approve it to be put in the manual.
My suggestion would be you approve the manual as is, and then bring this back in to just amend that section.
Okay.
So that you have specific language that everybody, because we've got two versions of this.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the world these guys could possibly recite any of that, but since it's new and they haven't actually seen it, approve the manual, and then just bring that as a modification at the next meeting.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the manual.
Motion to approve the manual as stated in the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Sherman, a second by Mr. Winters to adopt the revised City of Alva Employee Policy and Procedure Manual. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Item 13, remarks and inquiries by citizens. Mary Ellen, you hold the distinction. Okay. Item 14, remarks and inquiries by council members.
Do we have an ETA or anything on street painting?
At this point, it's going to have to wait till streets needs to be 50 degrees
Okay.
or higher, and that's what we're waiting on at this point.
Okay. Just,
It will be first on it's top on the list to get done.
it's just several comments have been brought to me about
Yeah.
that.
I've had several as well.
Any other remarks and inquiries by council members? If there are none, we will adjourn the city council meeting. And we will open the Alva Utility Authority meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Winters?
Here.
Eckhart?
Here.
Hamilton? Stelling?
Here.
Benson? Sherman?
Here.
Hannaford?
Here.
Wallace?
Here.
Item 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AUA meetings will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of consideration and action on the following items: Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 18, 2017. Item B, approval of claims in the amount of $70,317.56 and payroll expenses of $73,225. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Winters and a second by Dr. Hannaford to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
We'll close the Alva Utility Authority meeting and open the Alva Economic Development Authority meeting. When you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Winters,
Here?
Eckhart,
Here.
Hamilton, Stelling,
Here.
Vincent, Sherman,
Here.
Hannaford,
Here.
Wallace,
Here.
Item 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AEDA meetings will be approved by one vote of the board. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 18, 2017. Item B, approval of claims in the amount of $31,129.40 and payroll expenses of $15,830.66. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Sherman, a second by Mr. Winters to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman,
Yes.
Winters,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Item 5 is discussion and action on resolution number 2018-001, a fiscal year 2017-2018 budget amendment in the amount of $10,000, a grant from tourism to develop the Alva Recreation Center shade structures. It's been reported in here in previous council meetings that the recreation complex has been planning to build shade structures on the ball fields at the rec park. Tourism committee gave them a $10,000 grant to do so, and essentially we just need to amend the budget to reflect that income. If there's nothing else to add, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve resolution number 2018-001, fiscal year 17-18 budget amendment in the amount of $10,000, a grant from tourism to develop the Alva Recreational Center shade structures.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Winters and a second by Dr. Hannaford to approve resolution number 2018-001, budget amendment in the amount of $10,000 for the tourism grant funding the shade structure at the rec park. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Item 6, discussion and action on resolution number 2018-002, a fiscal year 2017-2018 budget amendment in the amount of $100,711, a grant from the Charles Morton Share Trust to develop the Alva Recreation Center shade structures. Same situation here. The Share Trust approved funding to the rec park for the development of those shade structures. Funding, I believe, was the final funding needed to complete the project. So we also need to approve the budget amendment for that.
Motion to approve resolution number 2018-002, fiscal year 2017-2018 budget amendment in the amount of $100,711, a grant from Charles Morton Share Trust to develop the Alva Recreation Center shade structures.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Sherman, a second from Mr. Winters to approve resolution number 2018-002, fiscal year 17-18 budget amendment for $100,711, grant from the Charles Morton Share Trust to develop the recreation complex shade structures. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Sherman?
Yes.
Winters?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Item 7 is discussion and action on the payment of NWSU Foundation's invoice of the 2017 fall semester scholarship billing in the amount of $266,518. We heard the presentation during the council meeting. The information in the packet was there, had the opportunity to discuss. Is there any other discussion before I entertain a motion? Then I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve payment of the NWSU Foundation's invoice of the 2017 fall semester scholarship billing in the amount of $266,518.
Second.
Have a motion from Mr. Winters, and a second from Mr. Sherman to pay the NWSU Foundation's invoice of the 2017 fall semester scholarship billing in the amount of $266,518. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Winters?
Yes.
Sherman?
Yes.
Eckhart?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Hannaford?
Yes.
Stelling?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I forgot to make this during my manager's report. We are planning to have the budget retreat on February 24th, Saturday. It is a little bit earlier than what it has been in the past, but if you have a problem with that date, please let me know so we can try to get it rescheduled on the dates that you, if you have a problem with that date, please let me know dates that you do not have an issue with, and we'll try to make those accommodations.
Joe, would you send a reminder out, an email reminder so we can check?
I will send an email reminder out first thing in the morning to allow you to check.
There's no further business. We stand adjourned.